Welcome to Lifestyle Solopreneur, the community for entrepreneurs who put lifestyle first. Join your host Flavia Barris as she interviews successful lifestyle solopreneurs and shares ideas to help you find the perfect balance between lifestyle, business, and self. Flavia is an attorney, marketing expert, and founder of several online academies. She's been featured in major media including BBC World News, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Post, ESPN Television, and more. Join us for this episode of Lifestyle Solopreneur. Hey, Lifestyle Solopreneurs. Today we have the absolute pleasure of talking to Christian Lovricic. He is fantastic. He's a serial entrepreneur. He is catering to the advertising and digital media experts, the podcast hosts, the YouTube celebrities in the works. Maybe any of that describes you. And the truth is, one could say that he is the closest thing to a digital renaissance man. He hosts the Pixel Feed YouTube channel, and he's currently on a mission not only to help businesses scale from 6 to 7, 8 figures, maybe higher, but also harnessing the full power of Facebook ads through innovative marketing strategies. In other words, he makes his clients cut through the noise fast and simple, leaving their competitors wondering, boy, what just happened? And it doesn't stop there. For those who want an insight into the mind of a brilliant modern advertiser, every week he shares his most recent marketing and advertising insights through that YouTube channel, Pixel Feed. So join him there as well. And welcome to the show, Christian. Cannot wait to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you. And, before we jump into sort of what you're doing now, how did you get here? So what was your journey from not being an entrepreneur to doing what you do today?
Oh, it's pretty crazy. One little thing that you didn't mention there, I specialize with e-commerce. So selling stuff online now, but it started way, way, way back. So to give you I'm going to give you the quick version of it because we could be here for hours if I give you the long version. But I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad had his own business. My grandfather had his own business. His brother had his own business, all Italian immigrants that went to Venezuela back in I think it was the 50s. The 50s. And they were part of the oil boom down there. So they were in that business, and that's how my dad learned it. So I was around it my whole life. And we'll hang out in the office with my grandfather. We'll hang out in my dad's office. And then the plan was to one day I will take it over, right? Because I'm the oldest. And for those of you that don't know, Venezuela went through a phase where starting in 93, Chavez took power, and it went from a democratic country into socialism, and now it's a full-blown dictatorship. It's pretty bad what's going on down there. So my dad saw it coming, and he got out of the business, and we moved to the States. So there was nothing for me to take over, and it was like, kept growing. I was like, you know what? I don't like that type of business. I was always into computers and selling stuff. So went to college, and I did normal jobs growing up. And at one point I worked for my dad. He had another company here, and went to college. And then in college I was like, no, man, I'm ready to make money. I'm done with this. And I dropped out from Florida State, and I started my first business, which it was a brick and mortar business. It was a franchise actually in the car business. And everything was going well, but I hated it. I did it because I thought I loved cars because, as a guy growing up, like most guys, we're obsessed with cars, right? And I thought I was going to love it, and I didn't. A few years into it, I hated it. I didn't like it. And then the sign for me to get out of it was when the 2010 economy hit, when the economy went down. I don't want to say depression. What would you call it? The recession happened in 2010. That was my sign to get out and then figure out what I wanted to do. So I took some time off. Then I worked for a Fortune 500 company because I didn't want to just start a business again. And the opportunity came about. I came across this little course on Facebook ads when Facebook ads became public. And back in 2000, I think it was 2009, 2010. Yeah, 2010. And I always knew that I wanted to do something online, but I just didn't know what. And that little course that I spent $300 on changed my life. That's when I learned everything about e-commerce, selling online, driving traffic. And then that's when I started to get really deep into marketing, copywriting, and learning from the greats like Dan Kennedy, Ogilvy, many, many others. So I built my first brand in e-commerce, grew it, sold it, did it again 2 more times. And now here I am. So now I do it for myself, clients. I have a YouTube channel where I show some of this stuff for people starting out so they can learn in some advanced strategies as well, where it's completely free. And and I work with clients and I help them grow their businesses with digital marketing, basically.
That's amazing. And so day to day, what does kind of the entrepreneurial day look like for you? I mean, in a given week, how many hours do you think you have to spend on marketing versus actually servicing your clients? And what does that kind of look like for you as far as how you've set up your schedule and your calendar to work for your life?
I live out of my calendar. I mean, my calendar runs my life 99% of the time. We even joke around. My wife knows that if she wants me to go somewhere with her, like on a weekday or like, whether it's, something with a kid or doctor's appointment or whatever, she knows she has to put in my calendar because I'll forget. So I run my life pretty much on my calendar. As far as like hours go, every day is different. Like I'll give you my quick routine. I usually go to bed at around, I don't know, between 12 and 1 a.m. And then I'm up by like, depending on the days, between 6:15 or 7:15. It's just whenever my body decides to wake up. I don't use an alarm clock. I don't need to anymore. And then I grab a cup of coffee and then I'll just start going through my emails on my phone. And then, that's how my day starts. Then I'll take a little break, scroll through my personal Facebook, Instagram, TikTok real quick, maybe for another 30 minutes just to get the creative juices going. And then I just walk downstairs. And then that's, by the time I get downstairs to my office, it's probably around 7:45 maybe, or 8. Somewhere on there. And then at 8:30, the calendar starts. It can be, the first thing that I do is check all ad accounts on Facebook. So we're talking about 27 at the moment. So I go through 27 ad accounts from different clients that I work with. And I check every single campaign, KPIs, numbers. So that takes me about an hour just for a quick view of what's going on, just to have an idea. And then the rest of the day, it's, schedule calls throughout the days. If it's a Tuesday or a Thursday, I have a podcast schedule with a guest for my show. If it's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, then that means on that day, I'm recording a YouTube video. And then in between, it's just calls. And then my calendar is blocked out for, working on campaigns, meeting with creative teams, copywriters, talking to clients, et cetera, et cetera. So it's pretty packed every day.
I think you've given a really good lay of the land for anybody that's thinking of going into your field, and is looking at you like, hey, I want to do what he does. I think that would be a great area to work in. What I think was, you mentioned it so lightly because for you, it's probably maybe easy, but I think it's a huge challenge for other entrepreneurs. You said, first thing in the morning, I look through my emails and then I spend maybe 30 minutes looking at social media feeds, getting inspiration. And then you turn that off and you go to work. But for a lot of people, as soon as they open their email inbox, or most, especially if they open their social media apps or channels or, look at different things or even YouTube, they will get lost for 2 or 3 hours, right?
I used to be like that.
How did you change?
It was really hard because I'm a Facebook child. Facebook became public when I was in college. That's when it came out. So I've had it since then, MySpace, Facebook, and I was always addicted to all of it. There was something that's why I love what I do, because I made it my job, in a way, right? So at first, how do I explain this? So I will catch myself, like you mentioned, I will have Facebook open because I have to have it open for what I do. So I will get distracted, and then the messages, I will go into the black hole of friends messaging me all day long and groups and all that stuff. So what I started doing was I started working the discipline of when I sit at my desk, I turn my phone upside down. Okay. Because then the notifications are not on, I'm not paying attention to the notifications. Because, when those notifications hit, that dopamine hit just hits in your head. So it's it makes you want to check it. So the first thing I do is I flip the phone upside down. And then I have Slack open in one window, which is how I communicate with clients, with my team. So, we're talking in real time with, I need this, I need that, what's going on with this, what's going on with that. And then my email, I check it periodically throughout the day, but it's not open in front of me all day because that's how I get distracted. So I stay away from it. I really do. Since I'm in Facebook most of the day on the business side of things, sometimes I will go into one of my mastermind groups or something. I have to open my personal feed, or the one that gets me every time is sometimes I have to click on an ad. And in order to preview the ad the real way to see what it looks like for real in a feed, I have to open a new tab inside Facebook, and it opens my personal Facebook account. So of course I see the 300 notifications or 20 or 10 or whatever it is, and it makes you want to check it. But I had to break I broke the addiction a long time ago. So I do check it. I do scroll through everything. But when I'm at work, it's just like, it's a rule. Like I don't do it 90% of the time, but sometimes of course I do, if I see it. So if I have the time, if I'm not packed back to back all day.
And that's tough. That's tough, especially anyone who's a former addict of anything. It could even be watching TV or, I don't know, The Bachelor TV series or whatever, any addiction that someone has. I think the hardest thing is to have to constantly be exposed to the thing that you used to be addicted to, but now you have control and you're okay, but then you're constantly exposed. I mean, I've heard people tell me, ex-smokers have told me that it's so difficult to actually go to a bar in a place where you can still smoke in bars because they've given it up and they haven't smoked for 5 years. But when they're in that environment full of smoke and it's just so easy, and then there's someone, handing a pack of cigarettes to them, hey, would you like one? It makes it that much more difficult. So kudos to you for being strong. Definitely you're disciplined. You have willpower. I admire that.
I tell you something. I started when I was 13, 14, and I quit at 30. At one point, I was smoking 2 packs of Marlboro Reds a day. That's a lot, depending if I was going out partying and stuff like that in my 20s. And I quit at 30 because I said, this is it. And that was hard. That was so hard. It's like you said, like you will go to a bar, a smoky bar 5 years later, and still, even though you hate the smell, like there's something in your brain that's just like, man, just one. But you don't do it. I don't do it. It doesn't even face me anymore because it's been so long. So it's not like that anymore. But what people don't realize is I know how all these platforms work and the way they're designed to get you hooked. So you can try to fight it all day, but it's so good at it. And you've been trained like a dog from day one. I hate to say it like that, but you have been trained that it's just something, it's your lizard brain in action. You know what I mean? So it's really hard. So don't feel bad if you try to stay away from social media and then you keep checking your phone because it's not an easy thing to give up. It's just as hard as smoking, if not harder. Take it from someone who's done both. So
I will. No, you've done both. So you are the authority on that topic. And you are the authority on the topic as well, because you do study the algorithms and you study how these social media apps retain audiences because they need the eyeballs. And the only way to get the eyeballs is to make their product as interesting, quote unquote, and addictive as possible. Yes. And it's just part of what they're doing. And
I tell you right now,
apologies for it.
I mean, Facebook, it has been easy to like stay away from because it's not as active as it used to be with my friends and stuff like that. So I clean my feed up to be mostly like job related stuff with like groups, like marketing groups and stuff like that. But the one that gets me every time, and I'm not gonna lie, is when I open YouTube and where I'm about to like upload a video or do some research in a certain topic just to see what's trending. And that's when I get sucked into the hole. Because you see one video is like, okay, that one's only 3 minutes long. And I click on it. And then next thing you know, I'm going to the next one and the suggestions. The next thing I'm in the YouTube black hole for like 2 hours. And I started like at 8 p.m. and it's like 11 p.m. You know what I mean? That's the one that gets me every time.
The spiral, right?
The spiral. Yeah. The rabbit hole.
Browser blackout, the spiral downwards. And like you said, it's sort of a brain drug because the dopamine and so, but you turn that around and you, with your knowledge of the way the brain works, you harness that to help people's ads get seen and noticed, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I do all day long. It's pretty much what can I do to grab your attention and get you to engage with my content and to make you get out of the platform and buy this product or use this service. Yeah. So, I mean, my job, I have to go in there and see what my competitors are doing. You know, I have to go in there and then build a client, what we call a client avatar. Who's my dream client? So what pages are they looking at? What are they interacting with? What ads are they clicking on? So I do have to go in there with a business mindset, log into Facebook and my personal Facebook and do the research. So that's the only way I can do it. And it's tough, but that's how you create a good campaign. And Facebook gives you all the tools to figure all that stuff out because they want you to use their ads.
Right. And did you ever watch the show? It's over now, but it's Mad Men. I don't know if you've ever seen Mad Men or watched it.
Yeah, everybody in my industry is like, yeah, we all watch it.
And you all watch it, right? Because I mean, it's about your industry. So clearly it's fascinating and it was well done too. I mean, it was a great series.
Yeah. I mean, if you watch that show, I mean, the only thing it was pretty accurate represent. I mean, I don't know about the 60s and the 50s, but in the way when they're talking, I remember it's been a while since I watched it, but when Penny used to sit in the writer's room with the other dude, I don't remember the guy's name. They will sit there for hours just trying to write copy or come up with a hook. That's what it's like. The advantage that we have now is we have the internet. So I can go to have software specific websites that I can look for headlines and hooks. And now I have a swipe file that's digital and I can just search for something that will help me. So something that used to take, 12 hours, I can probably get done in an hour. You know what I mean? So we do have that advantage, but the way they show in that show, how they craft advertising campaigns. I mean, if you're good at what you do, that's how it's done. It's not some people they think that because you're throwing an ad on Facebook, it's like just put a pretty picture, hit boost and go. And that's it. It's great. No, there's a lot to it. There's really a lot to it.
What I think is really neat about, and it became super obvious to me in Mad Men and watching it, but is this idea of, the Venn diagram of where being a business person and an entrepreneur and a service provider overlaps with being an artist, because this whole concept of like forced creativity, being an artist on demand and performing, right? It sort of goes against what you think art should be, which is someone's gazing at their navel or looking off into the sunset, gets inspiration and paints some sort of oil painting or something. But you have to be an artist, but it has to be on demand and you have to keep producing. I have the same thought every time I watch a good comedy show, like a daily or a weekly one, like Stephen Colbert or, all of these types of shows where I know that every day there's a table full of writers that need to be funny on demand and they need to just churn it out. And there's no time to wait for inspiration. They have to like generate it from within. And do you ever find that is sort of a difficult lifestyle where you feel like you're constantly needing to perform? Or after a while, is it kind of like exercise? Your muscles, your brain muscles and creativity muscles are so good at it that you're able to just kind of keep that pace and it doesn't feel so daunting.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it can be exhausting at times. There's no doubt about it. It's like even my wife, she brought it up last week. As a matter of fact, it's funny that you bring it up. She's like, because I go, yeah, I got to go record a YouTube video. And she knew I was like not in a bad mood, but I was just like tired and I wasn't feeling it, but I have to do it. That's, I got to get it done. And she's like, I don't know how you do it. Like, how do you just turn it on? I'm like, I don't know. I joke. I'm like, that's the life of an artist. It's like she started laughing. I'm like, but it's like that, you got to turn it on when you need it. But there's days that you don't want to turn it on. And listen, there's plenty of days where I'm working on a campaign and I'm like, I don't feel like doing it. It's not in me. And it's best to walk away and then look at it the next day with a fresh set of eyes and a fresh mind. And you'll be amazed how much better you can do. And you catch stuff that you missed. When I first launched the YouTube channel, it's been 1 year and 3 months. I was like 3 videos a week, no matter what, and until it gets monetized. Because for it to happen, you have to be consistent. So once I reached that goal, now I have I guess you could call it quote unquote luxury of saying, you know what, I'm going to do 2 videos this week instead of 3. And I can do that. And I still feel guilty when I don't do it. But sometimes if you're not feeling it, you're just not feeling it. So you shouldn't force it. Obviously, we have deadlines to meet and stuff like that. But luckily, I have colleagues that I can get on the phone. I have a great team around me. I don't have a huge team or anything like that because I'm very selective of the clients that I work with. It's a very small team and we can always brainstorm. But yeah, absolutely. There's days that you just don't feel it. And that's just being human. We all have we have good days and bad days, I guess, right?
For sure. No, but especially for artists, I think you need some blank canvas time. And, you can't just give yourself a 15-minute slot on a calendar and say, come up with amazing new concept for, client A, because there needs to be a little bit of time and probably a lot of downtime so that you're not completely worn out, so that your brain's not wiped out, hasn't had an, dopamine overload, and where you can actually come up with all these concepts and ideas. So here on the podcast, we like to talk about ways to stay balanced, to stay sane. I'm a recovered or sometimes recovering workaholic, depending on how my week is going. Right. And, sometimes I fall off the wagon and it's the way it is. But I think that the fact that I constantly am aware, not just through this podcast that I host and all the great guests that are on here, but also with the friends that I keep and my colleagues and people that I talk about this stuff with, is I'm constantly trying to stay centered and constantly trying not to let that work creep take over my whole life. And what do you do to maintain some of the family time and sanity time, and also just to preserve your batteries so that when you need to turn it on for your YouTube channel, Pixel Feed, or what you're working on for a client, maybe it's a new campaign, maybe it's something that you're creating. What do you do to keep yourself sane and to keep yourself balanced?
Well, I just had my first kid. He's 1.5 years. So he was born like right before the pandemic. So before that, though, I was living downtown. I was living the city life. I was living downtown Fort Lauderdale. And we're in Tampa now, but we go back and forth. But before that, I had the beach right there. So, if I wanted to turn it off, I would just walk downstairs and go have a few drinks and happy hour with friends, or I would just go to the beach for during the day or the weekend or whatever. And then my kid was born, and then the pandemic hit, and that's what turned me into a workaholic again. Because now I'm not leaving the house. So it's like, do I rather sit here and watch Netflix for like a couple hours, or I'd rather work? Like, I'd rather work. Like, if I sit down and try to watch TV for more than 2 hours, I feel like I'm wasting my life. Like, I feel so unproductive. And that was one of the hardest things to fight when he was first born, because when he's first born, there's nothing to do. All he does is cry and go to sleep and poop, right? So there's no interaction with him. But, as he kept growing, like after the first 3 months, I want to say 6 months, there's more interaction there with him. So that's when the real attachment starts, I guess you could call it. And now I want to spend time with him. So like now during the week, I cut it off at 6, at least until he goes to bed. And then if there's something quick that I need to do, I'll come back downstairs and finish it off. And then I'll take a couple hours for myself, and that's it. But I make time for him now for sure. And then the weekends, I try to take it easy. I do activities outside and stuff like that still, but it's not like it used to be, because I'm not going to restaurants and bars and, being where crowds are yet. I just don't feel comfortable yet because, I don't want to get sick. And, even if you're wearing a mask and all that stuff, I just want to be healthy, right? So, I mean, if people do that's their thing. It's their decision, but I'd rather sit at home and, if I can be productive, I'll just be productive. But what I've been doing is been playing video games again. I used to play a lot of video games growing up. So believe it or not, that's a creative outlet as well. Like, it makes you think in a different way, because game designers, they're creative people. So, and you get into the storylines and you see how they develop the storylines, how do they present things. And, it's in my world too, in a way, if you really think about it.
For sure. But that's another one of those areas where you can easily get addicted, but you're good at fighting the addiction. So I'm not too worried about you with the video games, but with the kids, you're right. As they get older, my kid's a little bit older than yours, but just wait until, and I hope this never happens to you, but for me, it did. That first time that my kid said, oh, why are you on your phone so much? I hate your phone. And you look at this little child and you're like, you're seeing something that I should have called myself out on. You're right. While you're here eating your snack, I shouldn't have been glancing at email. Like, that's not being present. That's not being with you in this moment that we have together. And so, yeah, the parenting thing is huge for anyone that's an entrepreneur that has kids who are of that age where they still need you and want you. It's probably a little bit different when your kids are 16, 17, 18 and trying desperately to spend less time with you. Right. But I think an additional challenge, there's the self-care aspect that we all need to do, and we need to see our friends and our family, but kids need us in a very unique way. That is, we have to, as parents, accommodate, and we have to make time for them and be there for them in a very real and authentic and present way, for sure.
No, and I love spending time with them. I mean, it makes my day at the end of the day. So, I'm lucky enough that we both work from home. So he's just upstairs. So if I want to see him and I have 5 minutes, I can go upstairs and mess with him real quick and then come back downstairs, So I try not to take it for granted. The other thing that makes me want to spend more time with him too, is I have one of those Amazon Echoes on my desk, and my phone automatically uploads pictures to it. So it's been uploading pictures to it since he was born. So I see pictures from like, I don't know, a year ago, and he's tiny, right? And I'm like, oh my God, it went by so fast. Like, if I don't take advantage of the time that I have now, I feel guilty about it. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to see the pictures from now and be like, oh my God, where did time go? So, it sounds cheesy, but everybody told me the same thing. And I'm like, nah, I'll be fine. And now I see why people told me that all the time.
Yeah, no, the best thing a friend said to me was, the days are long, but the years are fast, or the years are short. And it's Absolutely. So true, because it just goes by like that. But so you don't have a team. You said you're not big on delegating to a lot of associates on your team. You take the number of clients that you can handle, and you're very much.
No, I do have a team. I have a small team, but I'm on top of every single ad account and every client. But I do have a team. I'm the one who runs like all the strategies and the campaigns, but I do have a team that helps me. I have a creative team that makes the creatives for me. I have copywriters too, but I also, if I want to write copy, I'll write it. But we've been working for so long now that we just know each other, and it's just me glancing over like, oh, that looks great. You know what I mean? And then I have people that help me loading up like what I call the quote unquote grunt work when it comes to the Facebook ads. Like, okay, I need you to load up 3 different versions of this video in 150 ad sets. That takes hours that I don't want to spend doing, you know what I mean? Because I got to run the campaigns themselves. So I do have a team. It's just a very small team. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 people.
You keep them close to you. That way, you're still
Yeah.
supervising everything that's happening. And then, so that's one way for all of us to get more productive and efficient is to have team members, to have help, to have virtual assistants or in-person assistants. So team is one way, but what else would you recommend that people look into as far as technology or automations or apps or things that you've found extremely helpful for you and your team in how to make your time stretch further?
Oh man, there's so many tools. I love Slack. For those of you that don't know, Slack is it's a software where you can create a channel for your company. I mean, a space for your company, and then inside that space, you can create what's called channels. So, for example, in mine, if you look at mine, I'll read some to you. So there's obviously the channels for each client where my clients have access to me on there through like direct messaging. So if we need to communicate or anything like that, then I have another channel for like copywriting, ad creatives, and then Facebook ads, Google ads, Instagram, social, so there's a channel for everything. So depending on the business that you have, there's a channel for that. And then the people that are related to that space of your business or company, they're included on that channel. So everything you talk about or you need, it's in that channel and you can always go back to it. You can share files. Like if you have a conversation, you can always search the conversation. It's always there. Everything's always there. So that's how you keep everything organized through each different space of your company with each team. And then you can always do direct messaging if somebody, or group messaging if you want to have private conversations. You can also do video calls like you do with Zoom. You can do phone calls. And so that's my favorite one as far as like keeping my whole world together. Then for project management, I either recommend a tool called Asana, Asana, ASANA. There's another one called Trello. I like both of them, but I've used both in the past. And right now we're using Asana. So I guess Asana, it's working for me best right now. But they're basically project management software. So you can keep track of like tasks that need to be done for each project, like daily tasks and stuff like that. And then the third one is my Google Calendar. I mean, that's it. That's how I keep run my whole life. Now, for technical stuff and little hacks like that, there's a software called Zapier, and Zapier is amazing. It basically helps you. I don't want to say stick a Band-Aid on things to make them work, but that's basically what it is if you look it up in a way. But for example, like you can create what's called Zaps. So if somebody sends you, let's say a lead comes in to your business, I don't know, I'm just saying. So if a lead comes into your business, you can create quote unquote a Zap that grabs that lead and puts it in a Google Sheet and your Google Drive automatically. So you don't have to do it manually. So it's little tasks like that you don't want to do, it'll do it automatically for you. Or, if you want to if you want your Instagram post to be automated post to your Twitter account, you can create a Zap for that. So if you go in there, there's a million things you can do. It's infinite, the amount of tasks that you can automate using Zapier. So that's a good one too. And then one that we use for clients that I absolutely love that most of you would probably use if you're a business owner or entrepreneur, there's one that's called Later. And that's what we use to post on every social media platform for ourselves and our clients. It's one board where you create all your posts ahead of time and it's all scheduled out and you have data you can analyze. So to see what time of the day is the best time to post, you could organize your media and do the hashtags and all that stuff. And you can keep track of the growth and all that.
Well, that one sounds great. What is it called again? Spell it out
Later.
For us. I'm Later, Later.
T-E-R. Yes.
Like see you later, alligator. All right.
Yep,
Later.
Exactly.
That sounds great. I know a lot of people use a few others that are on the market, but it seems like that you using Later is a huge endorsement for them.
No, it's great. I mean, we use it all the time for my ecom
that is
stuff.
what you do.
Yeah, for my ecom accounts. Absolutely.
Well, that was an amazing amount of tips and apps and things for people to go and look at and consider for their own team and their own workflows. I thank you so much for sharing everything you've shared with us. How can people reach out to you best? How can people connect with you? What are you working on that you want to promote so that people know how to reach you?
Sure. So since we're on a podcast, if you want to listen to my podcast, it's called Pixel Feed Radio. And it's actually, there's episodes on it on YouTube as well, but it's on every podcast platform. And it's basically a podcast where I just interview, people in the business or entrepreneurs. They tell their journey, how they got there and how you can do it, depending on the space that they're in. The other thing is a YouTube channel, Pixel Feed. You search Pixel Feed or my name, Christian Lovricic. It'll come up on YouTube. There's I think I'm about to hit 200 videos on everything that's digital marketing, mainly Facebook ads. Just Facebook ads by itself, I just hit over 100 videos. So if you're looking to learn how to run Facebook ads yourself, there's your course right there for free. And then I talk about everything about advertising related, sales funnels, e-commerce, Shopify, everything you can think of. And then if you're a business that's already doing e-commerce and you're doing 6 figures in sales and you want to take it to the next level to 7, 8, 9 or more, then we got Pixel Feet Media. And that's when you will hire, myself and my team to run all your marketing, your ads for you, and then really take you to the next level and get that direct ROI.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure people will be reaching out to you. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I hope to stay in touch with you. I think you're an awesome guy and you're doing things right. You're making things happen, not just for your company, but also for all of the clients that you help every day. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It was a blast. And anytime you want to help me, let me know.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us and I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, and if you leave a review on iTunes, I promise I will read every single review. If you know someone who makes a full-time living from part-time work, and maybe this is you, please visit lifestylesolopreneur.com to nominate a guest or to nominate yourself. Because remember this, money doesn't buy happiness. But money in the hands of a happy person, there is no greater tool.
Today's episode was brought to you by the Get Shift Done program. It's a lifestyle-changing online class to help you define your business and lifestyle ambitions and to set goals in a way you've never experienced before. This class will 10x your daily productivity with methods that will blow your mind. And if you use a coupon code podcast, the class tuition is 99% off. Visit GetShiftDone.com to enroll today.